So today we're going to review some things we've talked about angles and add a little bit more to it. An angle measures what part of a circle. So remember, when you have an angle, this is the part you're measuring, and it's really saying what part of a circle is it. And a circle is 360 degrees, so it'll be less than 360 degrees then. So this is what it is. It's this arc part here that you're measuring. So it's not the length of the rays or anything like that. So when you do measure an angle and you want to write it in here, write it in this middle part, not out here by the arrows or anything. We already talked about acute angle measures, what did we say? Less than 90 degrees. And when you look at an angle, you can look at it and ask yourself, remember 90 degrees would be coming up here straight out, so this is less than 90 degrees. So that should help you. Ahead of time you should know, especially when we're going to use our protractors, you should know ahead of time if it's going to be more or less than 90. Obtuse angle measures more than 90 degrees, and technically it is less than 180. I didn't put that here. And a right angle measures actually 90 degrees. So remember, a right angle would look like this. Usually we put the square in the corner. So again, if you see an angle like this, you say, oh look, 90 degrees would be coming straight out, so that's more than 90, so that would be an obtuse angle. So you should be able to classify angles and also measure them, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. We already talked about these, complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. And we're going to be using these facts in today's homework. So again, if you're given a right angle, and you're given an angle that we know is 30 degrees and asked to find the other one, well, you say since it has to add up to 90 degrees, it would be 90 minus 30, which would be 60 degrees. Same thing if you're given a straight line, and we're going to be using this one a lot today. If you're given this angle is 50 degrees, you know the remaining angle over here would be 180 minus 50, so it would be 130 degrees. So we'll be using that a lot. And then we have some new things we're going to learn here. First off, this works if you have two parallel lines cut by what's called a transversal. So I don't have a lot of room to draw here, but I'll draw it down here for you. These are two parallel lines, and they're cut by a transversal. That just means another line that goes through them. You have all these angles that are formed here, and I'm just going to try to write some numbers in here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you get these 8 angles. Alternate interior angles. They're inside the parallels and on opposite sides of this transversal that cuts through here. So inside the parallels, it has to be then either 4, 5, 6, and 3, but they're on opposite sides. So 3 and 5 would be an example. So angle 3 and angle 5, supposed to be an and symbol, would be an example. Another example of alternate interior would be 4 and 6. So those are examples of alternate interior. They're on inside the parallels, opposite sides of the transversal. And we have alternate exterior, and we do know that alternate interior angles are congruent. So angle 4 and angle 6 measure the same thing. Alternate exterior angles are also congruent, and they're outside the parallels, opposite sides. So 1 and 7 would be an example, or a pair, 1 and 7, angle 1 and angle 7. And also angle 2 and angle, can't read it down there, but it's angle 8. Angle 2 and angle 8 would be an example. Corresponding angles are congruent to each other, and they're in the same position if you pick them up. So if you take these top angles, pick them up and set them down, angle 1 would sit on angle 5. So come here and it would come right down here. So those are corresponding. Another pair would be angle 2 and angle 6. Pick up 2, it sits on 6. Another pair would be angle 4 and angle 8. And angle 3 and angle 7 would be the other pair. So that means that these are all congruent. Now we're going to use all this to find missing measures. I'm going to give you one measure, and you're going to find all the others using some of these rules. And you can use different ones depending upon what we have. So here are our parallel lines cut by a transversal. Doesn't matter which way it goes. I'm going to put one measure, and I'm going to pick easy numbers to work with so we don't have to think too hard. And my drawing is probably not a very good drawing of this, but let's say this angle is 30 degrees. We'll call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I want to know the measure of angle 1, so this M stands for measure. Well, when I first look here, I see I have a straight line, and what do I know a straight line measures? 180 degrees. So I know if this angle I'm given is 30, angle 1 must be the rest of that, so it would be 180 minus 30, or 150 degrees. So I use the idea of supplementary angles right there. Measure of angle 2. I can use a lot of things. I can use that it's supplementary with angle 1, but probably the easiest thing that it's vertical with angle 30 degrees. So it's 30 degrees, and I didn't have to do too much math to figure that out. Measure of angle 3, well, I could use again that it's supplementary with either a 30-degree angle, it's supplementary with 2, or again the easiest thing would be it's vertical with 1, so it's going to measure the same as 1, which would be 150 degrees. The measure of angle 4, well, how can I relate it to something above? I can do it several ways. To me, the easiest is its alternate interior with angle 2. They're alternate interior, so it would be the same as angle 2, which would be 30 degrees. You could, if you wanted to, say that it corresponds to angle 30 degrees up here, so either one. Measure of angle 5, again, you can use its alternate interior with 3, so it's the same as angle 3, which is 150 degrees. You could use that it is supplementary to angle 4, knowing they must add up to 180. So lots of things you can use. Measure of angle 6, I like vertical angle to 4, so it's going to be the same as 4, so it's going to be 30 degrees. Measure of angle 7, it's vertical to 5, so it's going to be 150 degrees. You could also get that 7 and 1 are alternate exterior, so I don't care what you use when you're trying to find these, but those would be things that you could use to find those.